Welcome to the DingeCast. We are driven by a passion for discovery and the belief that history should be uncovered. Our mission is to reveal the hidden realities of the past to bring history into the light. Welcome to the DingeCast.
Okay, so first of all, I want to throw this out. We are from the future. And you may say, oh, you're time travelers. No, we're not. But yes, we are. And I'll tell you why. Because what we're discovering right now, and what is being discovered right now, but not being shared with the public, it's about many aspects of our human experience that have been buried for a reason. It's about power. Because whoever controls the knowledge has all the power. And they do that, Ryan, because there's something in it for them. There's nothing in it for us if there's something in it for them. If they stand to profit in some way, shape, or form. And I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about this, that with regard to this, it's not extraterrestrial, but it is what we would call UAP technology. Ross Coulthart has come out and said that it belongs to Lockheed Martin, that it's our technology. Are you kidding me? We have technology like this and we're calling it alien? Well, of course we are, because if we could actually fly at unlimited amount of speed, if each person had their own little Jetsons pod to where they wouldn't need the airlines, they wouldn't need the oil companies, so this is all being controlled for a reason. I want to throw it back to you.
Yeah. No, I mean, at the Cosmic Summit, I think it was Bob Greenyer was talking about this, and I thought it was really interesting. When he really broke it down, I think what was kind of an eye-opener for me is, he's saying, like, this is how anti-gravity works. These are the patents that they tried to conceal. We could build this. So why aren't people just building these in their garage or this and that? It's very similar, if not parallel technology to, like, mini nuclear fusion reactors. So if you were to build that, the government or whoever could say you're building a nuclear bomb, or not even being accused of that. It's that burden of responsibility, right? That with the power to do something good, you can make this, harness this energy, anti-gravity. You could use that exact same technology to make a bomb that could blow up, a whole country or something. So it makes you wonder if that's part of the reason why some of this is kept quiet, that they're like, well, the U.S. military wants this. We don't want our other countries that we don't get along with to get that technology and use it for bad, right?
Yeah,
so there's this it's a very strange relationship around advanced technology, because it's all a matter of whose hands it falls into for how it gets used. And just segueing here, right? Because we're talking about archaeology. It's anyone you meet, any walk of life, right? I'll strike up a conversation with strangers, all different backgrounds, and when I bring up archaeology or history, all of them light up. Everybody wants to hear about new discoveries, new information. It's exciting. It's because it's not like, oh, we found pottery shards or a skeleton. We're learning more about who we are, where we came from. And to me, that's why we're from the future, because we are looking at what is this going to mean 20 years from now. You look at what I learned in school as far as history goes, a lot of that information is already outdated. I get books from the library that were published in the 60s, and it's laughable what's in there. And you're like, that was what they were teaching back then. So it's not a wild concept that it's always evolving. So we're trying to tap into this, stay informed, and try to figure out what the story is. This is what it is now, but what is going to be the mainstream accepted story that we teach as history in the future? And I think that we are right on the right on the edge of the wave there.
Of course, and what I have said numerous times is that I really believe, and it's already happening, that artificial intelligence is going to unlock things that would never otherwise be unlocked. Like, for example, new scrolls that they are finding, the Nag Hammadi library. Did you hear about the letter from Jesus to his brother James?
No, break that one down.
2,000-year-old letter from Jesus to James, talking about his perception of the world and telling him, don't judge my followers too harshly. They're all very immature. But it wasn't a philosophical letter. It was about his own feelings about things. What we're going to find out, and again, this is why we're from the future, because every one of these little clues that we uncover, whatever it may be, and whoever uncovers it, and if they share it with the rest of the world, it is a portent. It is a slight vision of something else that is yet to come. And so the future is being created as we discover. It's actually changing the actual complexion of science and of technology and of the human condition. And I will make this, and I know this is going to be sort of radical, but I'm quite sure as I look at the way that the world works and how human beings function, I'm quite sure that the human race has been here on this planet for millions and millions of years. And I will reference the article that I sent you about a 700,000-year-old remnant of some kind of human activity in the Philippines. I just read it the other day, 700,000 years old that they found in a cave. See, but if you want us to believe, you guys out there, you experts, you so-called experts, that humans are only been around about 6 or 10,000 years, you're crazy. We're not crazy. We aren't stupid. You're crazy if you think we're going to believe it, because we don't.
Right. And you mean like I mean I'm guessing like humans in terms of like us today, like advanced societies that had,
Yes.
math, language, that before that humans were just so primitive.
Well, here's the thing. Take a look at Chaco Canyon or any other, mega, what do you call it? It's a ancient civilizations. Let's put it that way. They had these places where they would study the stars, and they knew the alignments of the planets, and the Inca calendar where they could predict certain days and events. I mean, what a sophisticated thing for a bunch of primitive people to have at their disposal. So
Exactly.
don't give me this nonsense that we are the most advanced civilization that's ever existed. I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. And here's the other thing I want to say. When Elon Musk gets to Mars and he starts excavating around some of these outcroppings, and I mean, there's still a lot of conversation. When I was producing the Art Bell show back in 1995, the scientists that came on to talk about the face on Mars and the pyramids, there's more information coming out about that, and the geometry of those structures. A lot of people are saying that it's not just natural formations. It's not possible for this just to be natural formations. Mars may have been our original home.
Could
And
you
what, you know
imagine,
what?
or
If we
just
can
if any,
find,
yeah, who knows what we could find up there?
well, if look, they have LIDAR. If they were to start scanning the surface of Mars, what do you think they'd find? But they're not going to let us know. It will all be dead by the time they say, hey, guess what we found on Mars? Well, back in the early days, back in the 70s, I think, when they started doing their experiments, they found that there were microbes. Now, in the soil on Mars.
Mhm.
It's not a dead planet. It's just not dead. Now, the cultures and the species that were there at one time obviously are. But then, have you seen the face hugger on the rock?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
picture of the face. That doesn't look like a dead thing to me. That looks like it's alive and it's just waiting to catch some prey. There are things on Mars that are unexplainable. And by the way, I just saw an article that talks about how they believe that there is animal life on Mars.
Wild.
Animal life. Now that would be up toward the cooler, the polar areas because there's more water there. But anyway, we could talk about this for days. But
Yeah, yeah. Well, one
I'll
more
throw it
thing
back
on
to you.
Mars though, just because I just read this, there's a fungus type that they've been experimenting with in labs, and I guess they exposed it to like Mars rock, so there's like Mars dust in there, so it's I guess mimicking the atmosphere, and the mushroom is able to grow in that environment, and not only that, it actually um, is putting out oxygen. So they're like,
Mmm.
if this mushroom could grow on Mars, it could oxygenate. I'm gonna say it wrong.
Oxygenate.
It
Yeah.
oxygenate the planet, and I'm like,
Wow.
how crazy is that? Because there's so many weird things, right? There's the way animals adapt. There's, the ocean is full of plastic trash now, and now there's a fish that eats plastic. It lives off of plastic.
That's right.
It's crazy. But what you're saying is that's my, I wouldn't even say frustration, but when the time it takes to review the data, to get it peer reviewed, to get published in the academia journal, and then it finally goes out to the press for us to find out. It takes too long. I
Like I
can't wait
said,
that long.
we're going to be dead by
I
the
don't
time
want to
they
be
admit
dead.
anything.
I don't want to be dead when this comes out that they're like, "We found the thing."
Yeah.
Cuz I'm just waiting for it, right? Like when it's only a matter of time. It's only until they find the evidence of, oh, well,
Okay.
people 2 million years ago were doing this. Now
So
let's rewrite history books. I want to see.
there, I guarantee you that there are artifacts buried that will prove the theory that I have. There are artifacts. It doesn't matter where they're buried. They found a few things. That shovel thing that they found that's made out of metal with the holes in it. It looks like a landing foot or something of a craft that they found down at 160 feet. The ooh parts, the out of place parts that they find
Yes,
in coal mines and places like that.
I love those.
One of these days, there's going to be like an announcement that they found something, that whether it's a ship or something else. But what I think they're going to find is it's not anybody but us. What we were at one time, and what we were at one time was a whole hell of a lot more futuristic than anybody wants to try to imagine right now.
Yeah, it's so wild to think about. I love stuff like that. But that's kind of the issue, right? And that's what I want to help explore in a respectful way, because it's what I see a lot of on the internet, right? That everybody, not everybody, but for the vast amount of people who are interested in history, interested in archaeology, the content that I see falls into that almost rage bait kind of branding, and I don't like that is attached to this shared history. Whether you're in the academic community or you watch the fringe pseudo archaeology stuff on YouTube, both of those people just want to be educated about our history. And it's interesting that the one side attacks academia, academia attacks the other side, and nobody really wins from that. My whole thing is, I mean, there's like a YouTube channel that is mostly just this guy made it his identity to attack Graham Hancock.
Mm.
And it's like, what do you get out of that? Like, has anybody ever called you stupid and ridiculed you, and then you went, "Huh, I'm going to join your camp now"? How is that an effective way to get your point across? And I just it rubs me the wrong way that there's so many people engaging in that. So I'm trying to just take a step back and look at this to go, well, okay, well, how did the academic community end up the way that they did, and how can the fringe community have better access to information to not make these wild claims?
Well, the question that I have revolves around what is their motive? In other words, based on what? If you're gonna see, I used to make fun of Graham Hancock and David Icke and people like that, lizard people, whatever. But Graham Hancock has proven that much of what he has said has been shown to be true. And so it's one thing to be mocked for having all kinds of crazy theories. I mean, we were talking about Alex Jones before we started this. Alex Jones, half the time he's actually right now. If you were a betting man, I would bet that on half the time. I mean, I would bet a
Yeah.
lot of money on half the time, right?
It's
So,
funny when, yeah, because people get so upset about things he says, and then years later,
yeah.
some article comes out, and you're like, "Wait, isn't that what he was saying?" You're like, "What?" Yeah, it's crazy.
Hmm. Yeah.
But this is what's upsetting. Like, well, let me take a step back. I would love to see the academic community engage the public more effectively if their goal is to, if they're against all of the misinformation that's out there. I don't see enough effort to counteract that, right? It's like, well, why would we post content on YouTube and TikTok? That's where all the fringe crazy conspiracy stuff is. It is because you're not on it. It's if there's a right? If there's a void, who's going to fill it? And And again, like I was saying before we hopped on, that when you dig into it, where you're like, why is it so hard to find this stuff? You know, what digs and excavations are happening right now? What are they finding? What does it mean? A lot of it is it's in a journal behind a paywall. So we don't have access to it, or it's only brought up at a conference that's closed to the public, or what's worse is the delay in information sometimes, because again, it's all about who's funding it. So the university is paying for it, even though it comes from taxpayer dollars. And they're saying, well, we want the exclusive on this announcement, but we're not. But we have other stuff, so we're not going to release this for 8 months. And it's like 8 months. You're just sitting on this crazy story, and we have to wait for it. I don't. There has to be a better way, and that's really, if there was like a tagline, the academic incentives for archaeologists are not aligned with public engagement. They're just not. It's like a closed loop. It's to reward yourself and your prestige within your own little circle. And archaeologists are kind of doing all this work to stay employed, right? They don't want to lose their credentials because they made some crazy statement. That restricts public access, and they don't have the time, the means, or they're not willing to take the risk to translate this for regular people. And again, this is what's upsetting. Obviously, I care about this stuff, but a part of me feels like this is publicly funded research that the public doesn't get access to. And I'm like, if the taxpayer's paying for it, they have a right to have access to it. If we're paying for it, it's kind of ours. It's not proprietary. It's not yours. It's all of ours. This is our collective knowledge, our collective history. We want you to find this stuff to teach us. And it feels oftentimes they find the stuff and it's put behind these paywalls. It's only for, and like, well, you wouldn't understand it. The public wouldn't understand it anyway. Then help us understand it. Like, I don't think that's an unreasonable ask. We want to know. If you're upset that people have all these crazy theories, help us understand better.
Do you remember when Dr. Robert Malone, the inventor of the mRNA technology, went on the Joe Rogan show and
I didn't
started
see that
talking?
one, but I'm familiar with what you're talking about. Yeah.
So he went on the Joe Rogan show and he was talking about how the potential of, altering our DNA was part of that process of when you get injected. But they tried to take Joe Rogan off the air for having Robert Malone on.
Mm-hmm.
So again, knowledge, see, it's not knowledge that they're afraid of, it's truth. They're really afraid of the truth coming out. And because what happens is when truth is more available, you need fewer experts to interpret it for you. So if you just give people the truth, people will go, "Oh, truth." It's almost like food, right? But if you withhold it, there's a hunger that grows. And then there's a desperation that grows around that hunger. It's like, what am I going to do? What are we going to do? The world is warming. Oh, wait a minute. Guess what they just told us just within the last year? No, it's not. It's cooling.
Yeah.
We're in a cooling trend. Hello, world. The
And that's the
liars
wild
that
thing.
lied.
Like, I don't care what you believe. It's crazy the efforts from powers to take content down from the web. Like,
Yeah.
you're afraid to let people decide for themselves. And then right, that action is what fuels even more, conspiratorial thinking, because it's like, why would they go through such effort to take it down? It's like you think you're doing good maybe by not spreading misinformation or something, but in trying to take it down, you make people more skeptical that you do have something to hide.
Well, let's talk about studies for a moment.
Yeah.
So whoever funds the study, as you were saying, funds the outcome. Do they actually pay people to tell them the truth or to find something that they want them to tell them? That's the difference. See, if you're funding a study to find out the truth, then you're not going to be disappointed with whatever conclusions are raised and discovered. But if you don't want certain conclusions being offered, then you pay to avoid those conclusions. And you pay for a particular outcome. And this is a very dangerous thing because lives are at stake. People's lives are at stake. Every human being has a right to know some kind of degree of truth that sets them free. Because without truth, what do you have? You have darkness. I mean, literally, you have mental darkness, intellectual darkness, spiritual darkness. Without truth, there's only the dark realm. There's nothing left of whatever it is that lives in the light.
Yeah. And that's why I'm not blaming archaeologists for this, right? It's not like they're independently choosing to suppress this. Somebody's holding their career over them, right? I mean, how many people lost their jobs when the vaccine was brand new and they're like, I don't want to be the first one to get this. They're like, well, then you're going to resign. You're like, I'm not, no, you have to fire me.
I
So it's like
have
you're either
a,
in or you're completely out. Or,
I
if
have,
you're a politician,
yeah,
can you really say what you want, right? Do you have the freedom to really say it, or do you have to be very careful not to upset whoever's funding your campaign because you want to get reelected? So,
yeah.
so many people's careers are there, there's puppeteers, right? You're a marionette doll. And I wish that there didn't need to be so many strings, especially on something like archaeology and history. Like, how is this compromised? Maybe compromise is too strong of a word, but
No, it's
it should
not.
just be it should just be so much more. People should not be afraid to say something because they think they're going to lose their job. And that's what's holding back the
But see,
acceleration of this knowledge.
let's talk about it on a fundamental level. I have a in-law who was a sheriff in Simi Valley, California, Simi Valley Sheriff's Department, top level sheriff guy, SWAT team, everything. But he told me the other day, in order for me not to lose my job, I had to take 3 jabs.
Mm.
3. He's got shoulder this, shoulder that, tumor here, back pain there. I mean, I feel terrible for the guy. I really do. He had to. He didn't want to. He had to. How many of those, I don't know, injections of agenda do we have to take to feel secure? Because see, that is not that's not part of the definition of freedom. If you have to accept and swallow hook, line, and sinker the person's beliefs that pay you, that's a form of enslavement, in my opinion. It's a form of indentured servitude that you're exchanging your actual life itself for a paycheck. It's to me it's evil.
And I gotta look up the names so I make sure I get this right. But what happens what happens when people do try to get the information out there? What was her name? Daphne. I don't have it here. There's a journalist in Malta. She was the one that helped expose the Panama Papers, right? And all this big money corruption and these big corporations. And then what happened? She was murdered with a car bomb,
Mm.
right? The who was the other guy? Dr. David Kelly. He was the one who basically the Iraqi war, he's like, we checked, there's no weapons of mass destruction. And what happened to him? 2 days later, he was found dead under mysterious circumstances in a field roughly a mile from his house. So my
Mm.
point is not to get all Alex Jones on everybody here or anything, but the people that take the risk to get the information out to the public that we all deserve, a lot of times they get murdered. And that's ridiculous. And then the people who were charged for Daphne's murder were the people in the Panama Papers that she was exposing.
Mm.
And it's like these you have to tell these stories so that people remember this, that somebody gave their life for you to have that information. It should not be that extreme. And like you said, it's control. There are controlling forces behind a lot of this. And I don't want that to hold us back from understanding who we are, where we came from.
Well, the
That should
question I
be off
have for you
limits.
is, can we stumble into something that's that threatening? Can
I
we?
think
Can
so.
we?
I think there are things out there that I'm sure there's plenty of reasons why people wouldn't want certain things to be found. I mean, we already see, on religious grounds, it's a very sensitive topic to find, a different religion, their artifacts in a country where that's not the majority, and they're like, well, we don't. Or look at Egypt, right? That Egyptians are they have a lot of pride in everything being. It was us. We did all of this. Anytime it's like, oh well, maybe they're like, nope, we don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it. It was us. We have too much pride. Not to summarize that in too much. I'm trying not to be
Well, but I
offensive.
mean, you're making a great point because the archaeology around the pyramids and around the Giza area itself, they crafted a narrative so that it would seem as if it was only done within a certain timeline that was controlled by them. And so this is what's been picked up by the entire world. Now we find out that there are these structures under the pyramid that could not possibly have been made by the Egyptians. These, so, and now they've discovered, and you've probably seen this, Ryan, that they're under every one of those three pyramids and that they're connected.
Oh, I'm
Well,
sure
what
that,
is that?
yeah, there's all kinds of theories that there's a whole not like very deep, but a whole other network, just below the surface.
Yeah,
I mean, even we could talk about just the Sphinx, right? There's so much more to still find with the Sphinx, right? I think the one scan showed there's an like a room inside. I think the left paw,
yeah.
and we haven't checked it. I would love to know if that's there and what's in there. But even just the water erosion theory on the Sphinx itself,
Yep.
it's so controversial, probably only because, well, not only, but because it would push the timeline back and it would mean somebody else built it. And there's just too much pride in already establishing that we did this. Nobody wants to retract that, right? There's just that sense of humility that people aren't comfortable with. And I don't want ego to stand in the way of truth. That's really upsetting. I just want to know, because what a wild thought, right? That, oh well, it was done during this dynasty along with all of this. What if it does come out? They say, look, it's true. Somebody was here 20,000 plus years before that, and that's where the Sphinx came from. Like, what? Could that potentially be the truth 20 years from now?
Well, but what's so weird is that it's admitted that there is a Sumerian kings list going back, I think, 26,000 years. Was that just a hoax?
Yeah.
Did somebody just, 5,000, 4,000, 3,000 years ago chisel that onto a slab
They
just
just
to
took the
make a
time to
joke?
chisel all that just as a joke, right? And
Come
like everything
on.
else on it, they're like, well, this is factual. Well, this checks out. This checks out. Well, what about this side that is a little more controversial? Well, that's the fake part. That's just okay. Maybe I don't know. Uh,
Well, but that's omission again, because see, there's the dark side of truth is the parts that you don't tell. Is in other words, you can tell a lot of truth that has some relevance to the questions that are being asked, and this is what a good prosecutor gets in a case and asks and digs deep into the questions that matter, but the omission of things to me is it's more dangerous.
mhm.
And the omission of it is the power part of it, because what you don't know will hurt you. What?
You know that I like talking about the indigenous peoples of America's history, and people get upset just when I talk about this, and I don't think it should be that controversial. And it's, oh, well, what do you think we should give back stolen land, and it's not stolen, we won. I'm just saying, know who was here before us. Aren't you interested in that? It's not like I'm not advocating for anything other than it's really interesting to know our full history. Maybe some of it's uncomfortable. I just think that we should all be taught that. We shouldn't be taught that narrow version that already aligns with what you want to believe and makes you comfortable. And I like that history has those uncomfortable bits to it. That's the bigger story. That's how knowledge works. You're not gonna like all of it,
That's a
you
great
know?
point.
And
Um,
well, were
yeah.
you gonna say something?
Well, let's just examine for a moment Skinwalker Ranch in Utah and the war, the feud is more like it between these two tribes, and how one tribe put a curse on the land. But you see, what's important about that is that when they first started uh, documenting in the TV series, The Curse of Skinwalker Ranch, there were some very strange things that they captured. And one of those things was a creature that looked like a dire wolf that appeared in a pen with some cattle and attacked some of the cattle. And they have this on, but you know what I'm saying is that there are forces at work that if people understood what forces were at work, then they would better understand the outcomes involved. With it's things like crop circles. God only knows what crop circles are. I have often said that I think they're satellite lasers. Having fun at our expense. With the with this, but
Some guy doodling from yeah.
yeah, I mean, but maybe there's something more. See, and the indigenous people of this country, first of all, we actually don't know how long they've been here. They may have been here for 20, 30, 40, 50,000 years. Who knows, right?
Easy.
And those people were very in touch, and we had a whole show on this, but they were in touch with the spiritual forces at work in their lives. Are we? Or do you just go to a brick and mortar church and sit there and have some boring, a bald man talking about things that you could read for yourself, and slap yourself on the back and say, "Well, that was another great day at church." No, we are not in touch with the spiritual things of this life. We placate our own superstitions and our own fears, and we tell ourselves, well, yeah, I'm a good church going person, but you don't really want to know the truth. Most people, they just don't care about the truth. They want the appearances, they want the
Yes.
trappings, they want the performance art, but they
The
don't care about the
performance.
truth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Half of it's just the performance act.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, not to, I don't want to get off topic, this is this is like a bigger example of this, right? Of why wouldn't they want people to know the truth, this and that? It is control, right? That if humanity has been so cyclical as earlier cultures have described, right? In ancient history, it's like, well, we're in the fourth world. Everything is cyclical. It's not this linear progression. Um, how does current society cope with the fact that an end might be coming, right? It's like, well, every so and so many years, we get wiped out, we almost completely, and then we rebuild, but we lose a bunch of stuff along the way. People don't want to live in that reality. They want to live in the reality that this is the best time to be alive, we're the most advanced we've ever been, and we're only going up from here. I think a part of it is that people just have to live like that because again, like I studied the ice age, I study all this stuff, and I'm not trying to get controversial here, so I'll try to tread lightly that, climate change, okay, it's happening, right? Whether it's man, okay, well, here's my point. The earth goes through warming and cooling periods. That's
Yep.
what it does, and we are in a period, the sea level fell and then it rose and okay, well now it's rising again. And I don't understand how the big conversation around climate change is like, well, if only we had or if we only had paper straws,
Oh,
and
I know,
it's
it's so
your fault
insane.
because you have the air conditioning on. If only everybody would do that, we could
Or
slow
your
this down.
pizza oven is burning wood
Yeah.
in New
And
York
there
City.
and then you go, okay, so what if we spend like $100 trillion and none of us have AC? What, does that solve the problem? They're like,
No.
oh no, it'll only delay it by like a few extra years.
Yeah.
So all of this it's still you're admitting it's still going to happen.
Yep.
It's going to happen. So why is the focus on these little things that are meaningless instead of just going, look, people, whatever you do, it's coming. Burn your, do whatever you want. But let's actually have a plan for what to do when this happens. There's very little money going towards actual preparing for this, right? We could have either, raise cities, start building cities further away from the coast, start doing something. Or like Miami had a plan to create this whole drainage system. Like I've been on islands because you're like, well, how do you guys survive here? And there's hurricanes. They have all of these empty reservoirs and a whole like sewage system, like just underground tunnel system. So when the massive floods come, they flip a button practically, and it pumps the water out into those channels to keep it away from the homes and everything.
Mm.
So I mean, and that was built back in the 70s. So if we know this is coming, if we have time, why are we fighting over, but you drive a car and you have I would love just to see people sit down and go, look, this is going to happen. It's probably going to happen by, it's going to rise, this and that. So here's the plan for how just to cope with the fact that this is going to happen. It upsets me that it's this weird debate over, but again, right, isn't that part of the distraction? Have people fighting over the things that
Yeah,
aren't going to change anything, and
100%.
and for the money interests, right? They're like, we know this isn't going to solve anything, but we're going to make so much freaking money
Right.
off of this. And
Yep.
I really don't think that anything I said is really controversial, but I'm sure somebody could see it that way. But I'm not denying that carbon emissions may accelerate it. I'm just saying you could stop all of that today, and the sea level's still going to rise. The planet's still going to get warmer. At best, we slow it down, and that's like if like a car is coming towards you, right? It's like, well, do you want to step out of the way, or do you want the car to go from it? Oh, it's coming at me going 80 miles an hour. Well, maybe we could have it hit you at 60 miles an hour instead. You're still going to get hit by the car. Why don't we come up with a plan for how to get out of the road so you don't get hit by the car?
Well, I
Just
mean, unfortunately, we don't have many visionaries. I mean, I think Elon Musk is a visionary. He's talking about how he doesn't want the spark of human consciousness to go out. And so he's planning on trying to get to Mars. Now, I don't know if Mars is the greatest place to be to keep the spark of human consciousness, but at least he's got a plan. At least he's got an idea. I don't know if he's ever going to achieve it. Maybe he will. He's a very ambitious guy and he's very focused. But, for people to have a vision and then a plan requires a super amount of pragmatism. And most people, they're 98% emotion and 2% logic. And so everything that touches their emotion, it that's really what gets their attention. Everything that causes them to feel one way or another is what drags them around by the hair. And
yeah.
and this is why people and the mind doesn't have a firewall. So whatever somebody says, well, so and so said this. Really? So and so said that. Yeah. Oh boy, now you go around telling the same story. So and so said this. I heard this today on the news. People are basically sadly delusional and they're easily manipulated, misled, and every power that be out there knows that.
I mean, even somebody like Elon Musk, he probably does his best work when he's just by himself in his own mode, right? Even he is kind of I mean, he's the richest guy in the world. He wants to have some fun. So, but getting involved in the public spotlight and all this stuff, it's like a distraction from his core, what should be his core focus, his core work, right? He's all wrapped up in, playing like the X game, right? He has fun getting involved in all of these little, ooh, I'm in the news, I'm in the story, and he's a celebrity, right? He's become a celebrity, and maybe he should just be an egghead hiding in a room somewhere, just being a genius. Like, just don't try to be cool. Don't do just sit down and solve these problems. Use your brain for that instead of just trying to be a celebrity. I don't know. Maybe
I really have to say that about Elon Musk that it became clear that if we didn't have somebody else leading the country, that his potential would be limited. Because remember, he offered under Biden to go up to save the people from the space station. They wouldn't let him.
Hmm.
So you got to realize that people, if they act in self-interest, that may thrust them into the limelight. And then they stand there and they have to accept that too, because who wants to be in the limelight? I don't like the limelight, not at all. But if I did something or said something that made a huge difference, then it would be up to me how I deal with it. And, Elon Musk is an exceptionally rare person because his brilliance is the reason why he is where he is. He's the richest man in the world. It is, it is, it is almost like a supernatural gift that he has. And along with that goes this really strange social awkwardness and all the rest of what Elon Musk. But see, He's just doing, in my opinion, he's really being true to himself. He felt like he had to be a part of this change. Now the change is here. Now he's feuding with Trump.
Yeah,
And what's
that's
interesting
what I'm
is
saying. Yeah,
I've heard people say, well, Elon breaks up with everybody. Well, because Elon is a kind of a purist. He's kind of an ideologue. He really believes in what he believes in.
yeah,
And he thought that we were going to reduce this huge, burgeoning budget, this federal deficit. He really thought that that was going to happen. He was very disappointed when he only got rid of several trillion, billion, whatever it is, dollars. He wanted to get rid of the whole burden of this because what it does, it frees everybody else to have more money to use for their own lives. So,
yeah,
I just think that, I would say to anybody who, let's say if you either hate or love Elon, just be a 1% of what it is that he is doing. Just be a part of 1% of trying to effect some meaningful change. That's all. And you'll see that your life will change. You'll be in a different space, man.
yeah. And I mean, like I said, with like everybody's a marionette doll, right? There's these puppeteers that, part of why did he get cast out in the first place was criticizing the bill. Because he's like, I thought that y'all wanted to balance the deficit. You guys wanted to
Right.
reduce that. Now you want to do
Yeah.
the opposite.
Yeah.
And they all have to lockstep. Oh, well, it's okay. It's okay to do it. And he's like, he has the freedom to say, no, it's not.
That's it.
You
What you mean? He's
shouldn't
got
do it.
FU money.
What's that? He has
He's
enough
got
FU
FU
money. Yeah,
money.
yeah,
He doesn't need any of these people. They
exactly.
all need their little positions of power. He
Yes.
doesn't need it.
And they know he's right, but they're too afraid to go like, I know, I had to sign it even though I hated it, and we really should have found a way to reduce the budget and this and that, but they can't say that. He can. And
That's a
that's why he
great
got
point.
cast out. Because
Yeah.
people get mad when you say the truth sometimes.
Yeah.
It's funny how that goes. But yeah,
But
I mean,
if you breed a dependency society, which has basically been done for the last, I don't know how many years, 10 decades, 7 decades at least, maybe 8, dependency, oh, the government's going to be there for you. I remember when Obama was elected and there was that one girl that says, I ain't going to have to pay my rent and I'm going to get a free car. People actually believe what they want to believe. It's not because it's necessarily true. It's an idea that they grab onto, and it's very self-serving. These ideas that we all have about everything. And who likes to get up and go to some crappy job? Nobody. But there are people that go, okay, well, that's how I get through this life is by doing a good job at a crappy place, in a crappy situation, do the best job I can do, and then you get to go home at night and live with yourself. But if you don't do that, and right now we have an issue around what is it, Medicare or welfare, whatever it is that they're going to try to make you have workfare instead of giving you out money, and you're sitting at home. There's people that say, I ain't going to work. No, work is, I was not born to do any work. And there's 35 million people that are just staying at home, not doing anything. Get back into the game, you see. And there's nothing unreasonable. 20 hours a week is what it is. 20 hours a week is what they're going to require for people to get health care and food stamps and God knows what, right?
yeah.
So, just
I
saying.
mean, everybody, whatever you can find, man. There's society works from us all working together. There are jobs that can really help other people's lives, and what's more rewarding than that, you know?
Yeah. Well,
And
but
maybe that's
here's the
part of it,
thing.
right? That people don't
Yeah,
feel like I'm going to a job, but I don't feel like I'm making a difference.
but it isn't that because,
Yeah,
take a look at if you can imagine a day in the life of Elon Musk, you think his life is easy? He's got like
absolutely
12 or
not.
13 kids from all these different women. He's trying to repopulate the world by himself. That's not an easy job. But he's also got thousands and thousands of people that look to him for direction, for either inspiration or direction. And, I would say that, but he lives with himself, right? I don't know if he's on ketamine, which I've heard that he does microdose, but he has to live with himself before he can live with anybody else.
Yeah,
We all have to learn how to live with ourselves. And if we are living in dependency, we live in fear. And this is what, so he has FU money because he can tell everybody, right? FU, I don't need this. But no, but not many people can do that. And the people that even can do it, they are kind of chained, like a ball and chain to what it is that gives them the sense of opulence that they have. The really rich people, the bankers, the corporatists, they're chained to it. I mean, how much money is enough money to be able to say "f you"? Right? How
Right.
big of a boat do you actually need? How many houses do you need on lakes and the ocean? It's like, but people who are habitually hooked to the dependency model, they cannot ever feel at ease because they are dependent, and their greatest fear is to lose whatever it is that's sustaining them. This is not a good model. It doesn't work. And if we were in fact a species of hunter gatherers, we had to get up in the morning 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 years ago and go out and pick berries and do what we had to do to survive that day. No,
Just to
we don't have
survive.
that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I always wondered that, like, I mean, you got to think of what drives somebody, right? If you're that rich, wouldn't you just retire and be like, okay, I win, I won. I don't have to, I don't like, why would I do anything stressful when I'm this rich? I should just be doing whatever I want. But a lot of those people still show up for work every day. They work 60 plus hours a week. I can't
Well,
imagine
wait a minute.
$100 million and working a 60-hour work week. And it's
But
either, yeah,
their identity is based upon it. They
exactly.
don't know who to be without it.
That's
And
it.
if you take
That's
it
it.
away, let's say they still have all their money. Let's say they have $100 million, but you take away the reinforcement, the
The
I don't know,
title.
huh?
Just like the title, right? Like I'm the guy and I'm in charge
Well,
of this
it's not even with that. It's a
corporation.
containment system. It contains. You were talking about ego. It contains their sense of who they are, and if you try to take that away from them, they will fight to the death to keep it. This is
Hmm.
why people end up in court fighting over this, that, and the other thing. Yeah.
It's like your identity is like I go out and I make more money and I'm just that's my identity. And
Well,
that's what's
think
crazy,
about it
right?
this.
That people don't take that time to take a step back and go, well, who
Well, they
am I
don't want
without
to.
this?
Because there is a void. I call it the wax fruit syndrome. Wax fruit looks so beautiful. Now try eating it because you can't eat wax fruit. You will die. You will starve to death. With people who are completely wrapped up in what they do as their identity, people used to ask me, what do you do? And I would tell them, oh, I'm in the broadcasting. But I would tell them, what I do is not who I am. Because if I don't have a broadcast, if there's no broadcaster, I'm still me,
Oh yeah.
right?
I
If
could
I'm not
lose I
doing
could
what
lose
I
everything.
do,
I'm still me. Like I
right?
don't need any of this
But
stuff to make me.
imagine not being you when that somehow is the rug is pulled out from under you and you don't know who you are at that point.
Oh yeah. That would freak a lot of people out.
And I'm talking about even on welfare. Those people depend, there's an expectation. We live in a state of expectation. We know certain things. We like to predict certain things. We like certainty about certain things. We want those things to continue. We don't want any interruption in our expectations, even if it's just food stamps. Because whereas now there's an incentive to go out and find another way to get food, and that's called work.
And I mean, like, just I guess still related. Like, I have friends who are, very extroverted. They admit like I have to be around people. If I go home and I'm by myself, I'm just like, okay, who can I call? Where can I go? I'm like,
Yeah.
It's okay just to be by yourself, but I guess you don't take the time to sit there and have those thoughts. If you didn't do it earlier in life or you haven't done it for a while, it might freak you out, but just let it happen. You don't have to keep
Well,
running from yourself.
yeah. David Bowie starred in a movie called The Hunger. It was a vampire movie. And what you see is that you can fight if let's just say you're a vampire, just for the sake of this conversation. You can fight the urge to take somebody else's blood, but you can never overcome it because once you go there, once you become a vampire, you absolutely have to take the blood of somebody else to survive. And so in the dependency model that I described, you have to get what you need to exist. See, but if, and there are people who actually go on these vacations, they go out into the savannah or they go on these deprivation vacations where they turn off their phone. They actually want to remove themselves from all the trappings that essentially hold their lives together. They just want to get away from it. They want to get back to being who they are. And that's when you discover some of the most amazing things. You know, Steve Jobs, for example, said that he was a transcendental meditator, I believe, and that things were revealed to him in his meditations.
Mm-hmm.
He was
Yeah.
given insight through meditation, through clearing his mind. So it's kind of strangely opposite. You clear your mind, and all of a sudden your mind gets filled.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have to, what's the say? Like you have to remove the negative to make room for the positive, right?
it's exactly that. But so to have an identity. So Freud coined the phrase id. That's the ego part of yourself. So what we really have is a two-part thing, which is we have an id and we have an entity. The entity in us is the self, the ego self, and the id is this other part of us that sort of dictates who we're going to be in given situations. So, but the average person really, really depends upon being stuck in a mold. They want to walk the same path. They want to think the same thought. They don't want an interruption. And that's the saddest part of it all, is that you'll never know what life is like until you break free from that dependency model that you have, whether it's a person that you depend on. You know, the problem, the saddest problem in relationships is that we depend on those other people. And when they fail us, man, our whole lives fall apart. When they're just not there one time, if it's for picking up the kid or, you know, making a meal for you when you get home and now it's on you, it doesn't make any difference what it is. We are stuck with dependency, and when that dependency breaks down, we break down.
Yeah. Even just emotional dependency, right?
Totally.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think, is society, I don't know, I don't want to make like an over generalization assumption here, but that people are looking for these answers thumbing through their feeds, right? Like maybe there's a video on here that'll have the answers. Do people just need to have more time to just be alone by themselves, to have that healthy amount of a meditative state? Uh, is it that simple? Like how does the average person who's not on this get into this?
Well, yeah, if you go on MSN, I mean, everybody that's got a Dell computer has an MSN feed that pops up every morning. There are hundreds of articles up there about, is your spouse a narcissist and terrible things that people do to each other. God, I mean, there's hundreds of articles. But the problem is that people really don't understand what life is all about. I mean, that's the truth. And that's why constantly people are trying to figure it out by reading what somebody else says about it, which, okay, you can do that, but it's not necessarily going to be your answer. So, yeah, you need to step back. And because in the scripture it says, know the truth and it shall make you free. So, what's the truth? See, that's when you begin the process of what I call conscious elimination. The process of conscious elimination means, what is it that's in myself, that's in my space, that's inhibiting me? That's the first question you want to ask. What am I doing to be a part of it? That's the second question you want to ask. How do I extract myself from it in the right way? That's the third question. The natural questions come though, but then you have to be very careful not to be rash about it, not to get emotional about it, not to be anger driven, but just to become aware of it. And by becoming aware of it, there's a principle in physics, which is the observer effect, that just
Hmm.
observing something changes it,
Yes,
right?
totally.
So if you become an observer, first of yourself, because it doesn't matter what other people are doing, to be honest with you. Yeah, people are screwing you left and right, and they're impatient and mean and rude and selfish, and the whole world's like that. But you don't have to be a part of it. You
Yeah.
can step back from it, separate yourself from it, become objective. To become an observer, you have to grasp this concept of being objective. Very simple concept, which means you have a thought stream that goes through your mind. You think it's yours. You think these thoughts are your thoughts. Well, guess what? It's Memorex. It's just flotsam and jetsam and junk. It's like junk mail. Nobody reads junk mail, really, unless you're really desperate. The junk mail of everyday life gets stuck in your junk mailbox, which is your brain. And if you step back for a moment, you'll begin to realize how much of that junk mail you don't need and you don't want, and you just put it in the outbox or the trash, and you just trash it. You get rid of it. So you clear space for awareness. And awareness is a magical thing. Awareness is like water in a sense that it's, water is a universal solvent. You know that? It's
Mm.
really weird how water is a universal solvent. So is awareness. It's a universal cleanser of the mind. And so you can be aware of something that's really irritating you and just watch it. You can be aware of something that's absolutely beautiful, like a beautiful sunset, and just watch it and appreciate it. You Awareness is a universal solution which can be applied in a million different ways. And objectivity brings you to greater awareness. And what will happen is your life will change without you even trying to change it.
Very insightful. Because yeah, it's like going to that emotional place in an honest and rational way, and you learn those truths from that. You're not letting it be clouded by external thoughts or even your own biases coming in and swaying that. Yeah, just taking a good
Do you ever listen to
honest look at it.
music that's unplugged? So it's nylon string guitars
Of
or
course, yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
steel string guitar. The unplugged side of music is very different than the plugged in side of music. It's softer. It's the same melody, but it's got a softer feel to it. It's kind of in its own way more beautiful than the plugged in side of music.
Yeah.
But see, when you unplug this big piece of meat up here from the world, you begin to feel things differently. You begin to perceive things differently. You begin to experience life differently because it's not being fed through
Yes.
the plug.
Amplified. So okay, so yeah, like I think the first concert I ever went to was the Cranberries and Toad the Wet Sprocket. Um,
Mm,
and I've listened, and aside from alternative rock and all that, I listen to classical, and I've listened to it, with headphones on and good sound system. I
yep.
went to see an orchestra perform Vivaldi's Four Seasons in
Mm,
person, and
fantastic.
that was that was a wild experience. I was a teenager, and to hear it in person, where you're like, there are no amplifiers. This is the sound coming out of 40 violins playing,
Mm,
filling the room with right. It's not amplified through a speaker. This is that sound coming out of those instruments, and oh, you feel it differently for sure. To feel like you said, unplugged music in person is something else. Or just even when people who are really good singers, no microphone, they're just standing there, and you're like, my God, you sound like you've been mixed and mastered and touched up,
yeah, it's
and
amazing.
this is just your raw voice, and there's nothing like feeling that in person. You can't
Yeah.
experience it through a recording. It's
I
just
used to love to
not the
watch the Grand Ole Opry.
same. Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, they're plugged in a little bit, but man, that's the real deal. Those people are actually standing there performing and doing what they do, and you cannot tell that it isn't remastered. It's so good.
It's so
You
good.
see,
Yeah, it's
you can't create greatness artificially. It's got to be real. You've got to take in more reality, not less, because the average person, when they're under stress, they want to dull their senses, they want to drink, and they want to overeat, they want to do things to make their life less tense. But you don't realize it. The reason why you're doing that is because you don't know how to turn it off. You don't know how to unplug from what's going on out there. And so, I will give you just that at my website, which is escapeyourmindsprison.com. I did a meditation, which is down my page. You can go there and listen to it. It's on YouTube as well. And it's a simple meditation. It takes you 15 minutes. And what you'll find is that you start to recalibrate. You remember those big screen TVs you had to calibrate the colors so that everything kind of came into focus?
oh yeah,
Remember how it used to be?
yeah.
We got to recalibrate our lives. We got to recalibrate everything so that we can see clearly again, so that we can be clear again about who we want to be and who we don't want to be. And by the way, in the conscious process of elimination, the first thing that you see, because there's two people here in every human being, the person you want to be and the person you're meant to be. But the conscious process of elimination allows you to see the first thing that's important, and that is the first thing that you want to deal with because there's no future for one of us. One of me. I realized this a long time ago when I was a teenager. I have this trajectory toward going to be a musician or, like a professional surfer, whatever it was. And then I had the trajectory which I couldn't see ahead of me. But I thought I can see pretty much what it would be like to be a professional musician or a surfer. I couldn't see what was around that corner though, around there. And I had to jettison one in order to receive the other. And so here's where I am today. I'm sitting here with you, Ryan, and I have this entire decades long experience of the conscious process of eliminating. And thank God that I found my way, through learning how to get quiet because I shouldn't be here right now. I should be dead many times over. I should be
And
dead.
no, but I told you I saw the pictures from your surgeries. That's
Oh, those are,
that too. But
I
yeah, I mean,
can't show
even
all
before
100
that
of
too.
them.
Yeah,
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 the hundreds of them. Yeah,
yeah.
I should be
So
dead. And I've known people that had a simple cancer that killed them. They just went terminal and they were dead.
yeah.
And I've had cancer after cancer, but I have an indomitable spirit. And, if it doesn't kill you, it does make you stronger. And by the way, in my opinion, God is always preparing us for something more. So no matter what you've been through in your life, how much you've suffered, you got to step back and realize that maybe it was preparation. See, maybe it was preparation for a transformation moment that comes where you have a realization. You go, wait a minute, I'm not going to live this way anymore. And I trust something greater than myself because everybody's going to give you the wrong. Everybody will give you the wrong information. They'll give you the wrong advice. They just will. They can't help it.
Well, I want to go back to you were saying something about music and it needs to be like real or authentic. I forget exactly how you said it. Like the creative process. And I heard a perfect argument the other day for like AI artists, right? Where they're like, "Well, you didn't create it, the AI did." They're like, "But I entered the prompts, so I'm the artist." So this guy says, "Okay, well, I own a production company and I needed dragons for my story. So I hired this guy and I told him how I want the dragons to be, this style, this and that. And he showed me some. I told him how to revise it, and then it came back and it was perfect. Am I the artist because I gave the prompts to the guy that I hired, or is he the artist? So I'm like,
Mm.
yeah, dude, that's how to really break it down that the AI is doing the art. You are just hiring the AI and prompting it to do it. You are not the artist. And sorry, that's probably too
Well,
much
no,
to
it
offend
what
people,
what
but I'm
comes
like,
to
that's
my
a really
mind.
good way to describe
Yeah.
the level of where you draw the line right there.
See, as a carpenter, I started building houses when I was like 17, and I had a skill saw and I had a hammer. The hammer didn't build the house. The skill saw didn't. It cut the wood. The nails didn't hold the house together without me pounding them in. So there's a symbiosis between tool and creator.
That's
See,
interesting. Yeah.
so yeah, because I think it was Khalil Gibran that said the hand that strums the instrument, right? So the instrument is there. I mean, in a sense, we are like an instrument, but the hand that strums the instrument is the one that makes the music.
That's
Because
very
without the
interesting.
hand,
Yeah.
the music wouldn't exist. So this whole argument about AI being some kind of, I don't know, it's just, to me it's just a tool. It's just and if we're not careful, they will build in um, capacities which AI should never have because AI should. I've heard it said that AI cannot become sentient because it will never have a personality like you or me. Our personality are built upon our own experiences. AI can never have actual authentic experiences. It can only have borrowed experiences. So whatever that ends up bringing, we'll just deal with it when we get there. I mean, it could be Terminator time. Who knows? I mean, maybe the AI says we don't need these parasitic humans. Who knows? Maybe that will happen. I don't know.
Well, I really like the carpentry counter argument to that. That taking the, well, if it's only a tool, it's who's creating it. So I'll give you a third one then that you just made me think of this. So
Okay.
um electronic music. You plug it in on a sequencer, like a step sequencer, got a keyboard, and it's almost too programmed to do it a certain way. So, but if you play guitar, it that the soul bit comes from those little imperfections. You're not quite on time, or it's like bent a little out of key. And if you had a computer just write that, it has no, just doesn't
Yeah.
have soul. Like
Right.
you can't load the sheet music in, and it's gonna have that little raw feel to it. So I think there is, maybe you can achieve that with AI and all that still, but there is something to be said for the operator being the human hands. That there are little, not even imperfections, but it's the full creative process of your mind being poured into it that really gives it its
Well,
unique
I'll give you one
characteristics
better. I'll give you one better.
to do it.
When my kids were young, they went to a private school, and so I never tried to force my kids to do homework because, first of all, a lot of what they were doing, I wasn't able to help them with. So I had an argument with the headmaster of the school, and he said, "Your kids are not doing their homework." And I said, "That's what I pay you to help them do at school." So the question is, when a teacher teaches a child, is the teacher then does when they impart the knowledge, it's the same question, is like, is it the teacher or is it the child? Because the child has to absorb it and understand it and then reflect it. See that there's a human component that's so important. And so if we try to replace that with artificial intelligence, well, there are going to be side effects and consequences for doing that, but we don't want to stifle. Because see, it goes back to the idea, if man were meant to fly, he would have been born with wings. Okay, that's complete crazy nonsense. If man was meant to be on the water without swimming, he would have been born with flotation devices. You can make any kind of cockamamie argument you want about whether or not technology, is evil. Because a lot of people, the Quakers think that technology is some kind of evil. Come on, give me a break. Give me a break.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that earlier because I was gonna, like, would you rather have the ability to fly or, swim underwater like a fish for, right? And then I was like, well, you don't really need a superpower. It's crazy that we have devices to fly through the sky. We
Right.
can stay on. It's so technology is awesome that we can do this stuff.
Well, I
So,
mean, here's the other
yeah.
thing. Like, say, going back to Elon Musk,
Mm-hmm.
he's determined to get humans on the moon. If we don't already have them there, I think we probably do. But if there are humans there now, I guarantee you they're not just walking around picking up rocks. They're they're doing archaeology. They would have to be doing archaeology. And I've heard that there are things on our moon that they don't want to admit to. There are structures on our moon. There's a huge, I don't know, it's 2 or 3 miles high. They call the shard. What the hell is the shard? It's huge. And a Russian probe took some pictures of it, many, many decades ago. There are things that technology allows us to have access to that otherwise we would never know about. And I just
Yeah.
kind of end this idea with, when I was a kid, I built my first skateboard when I was like 7 or 8 years old. I think it was 8. I took a crate and I took my roller skates and I put my roller skates on that piece of crate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I wondered, are there other kids in the world that skateboard like I do? My little limited mind wondered if other people were doing what I was doing. And
That's
that was a
awesome.
genuine thought.
Yeah.
I didn't know. How interesting is that?
That is
There's so
really
many
interesting.
things that we just don't know. But when we become awakened or enlightened, we begin to know. And then we discover that we have so much in common with so many other people, and that we're not alone in these questions that we have about the meaning of life and the nature of our history and everything else.
And like maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like certain disciplines of science and technology, um, the general public is kind of along for the ride in that questioning and discovery phase, right? It's like, well, scientists are working on this theory, right? We hear that all the time. They don't have anything conclusive, but here's the lab, they're working on it. Here's what's going on. Um, it's odd to me. These are really complex things, like like the particle colliders and all this stuff. But then archaeology, it is a discipline like those, and they are trained to be very conservative in their interpretations. They don't want to say anything that might be wrong later. Um, but why is that the discipline that's so cautious to not say anything, right? Like that science trying to fumble into all these crazy new technologies and theories. I feel like we have more access to that process, right? Before they find that conclusion, they did this experiment, it didn't work, but this is what they're theorizing. And I love being a part of that process, whereas it feels like archaeology is kept away, until it's been peer reviewed and this and that. And then years later, they go, okay, now we're going to tell you what we've been working on for all these years. Maybe I'm wrong, but that feels strange to me that you'd think
Well,
science and tech, like the deeper stuff, would be much more closed to
I
not.
look at it this way, though.
Yeah.
We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We got people working on different kinds of wheels and this, that, and the other thing. Um, and so all of the work that's being done eventually, well, if it isn't like put in an Indiana Jones style, you know, place where it's stored and locked away under lock and key and security, eventually a lot of the stuff like the microwave, for example, it was designed by NASA, I guess, and for the space. I don't know. The beds that we sleep on now, the super soft foam beds that we have. If somebody figures out how to way to make money on it, then it's going to leak out. But with archaeology,
Mm.
it's a slightly different equation because these people are doing work and they spend their whole lives investing in the work that they're doing. But also, like you are describing, they live their lives in fear. This is not an open source society. It's a closed source society.
Unfortunately,
It
yeah.
should be, for the most part, especially with archaeology, what's there to hide? That's the question. Why are they hiding anything? Well, because they live in fear, because they don't want to lose their funding. As you've said, you've given all the legitimate reasons why these people live as if they are like slaves, like the cobalt people living in Africa who are living in a pit and picking up little rocks and making $1 a week or something. But they're living with fear. They're not living in freedom. So when people break away like we do, we live outside the box. And I don't believe that a person has to have a credential. Malcolm Forbes, who originally owned Forbes magazine, he failed. He failed miserably 3 times before he became a success. He lost all of his
Sure.
money.
Yeah.
So, and he was a self-made man. Self-made people are a different breed. They just are. Elon Musk, a different breed. The people that follow him are different breed people. There are the automatons. They're the clone types, like the Clone Wars type people. And then there are the different breed, the individual, the originals. So,
Yeah. I think you're totally right though. I mean, that's a weird, or it's an interesting aspect that other disciplines of science, there is that financial end, not end goal, but potential that arises from it, and then that will fuel. Let's say let's get this done, get it out there so we can all make money. What's the end result of archaeology? It's just some information for the greater good. You can't really, unless it turns into like, oh,
well,
well,
wait a minute.
then it turns into tourism, right? Museums and all these
Yeah,
spots. That's where the dollars come from,
okay.
which also is a
So,
problem. But
Gobekli Tepe, 100-year plan to excavate at Gobekli Tepe. You talk about tourism, they want to milk it for everything that it's worth.
Mhm.
Only what, 10% of it has been excavated, as
if
far as
if
I know,
that, yeah, I don't even
if
think it's that
that.
much.
So they want something to lure people, it's a giant fish lure. Oh, look, they're still working on that. Let's go see what it's all about. But there's also the potential that they're going to find something that they want to capitalize on. And that's why until they get the ability to do that excavation, under the cover of night, I'm going to say, and find out what's there before anybody else does. They're not going to let anybody get to it. They're just not. It's proprietary for them. There's something that they suspect is there. Maybe it's humans have been here for
Yeah.
and maybe the decoding. These I don't know what they call these big 15-foot high statues at
It's
Göbekli
like
Tepe, but
the T pillars.
the T pillars,
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
they're starting to decode, and AI is starting to decode them. So there's information there, and it's like there's again the Mayan calendar. There's cyclical things that happen in the course of our rotation around the sun, so on. Who knows? But if you had, okay, so like Pfizer, they said, "Oh, we have the cure to the COVID-19." Yeah, how much money did they make claiming that they had something that was going to help everybody? So it's just that one thing. Imagine one thing that you can make billions and billions and billions of dollars off of. That's what I think that their
Yeah.
motivation is.
Yeah, it's like like the World Economic Forum threw a bunch of money behind it to turn it into a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
They're not doing that. They make money. They're not in this for the greater
No.
good. We gave you
No, they're
money. We want dividends. We want returns on our investment.
yeah.
So you are going to milk this thing for. I
And
mean,
by the
I'm
way, that's
making
not
it sound so much
capitalism.
more sinister than that, but
Yeah.
it's just a
That's
simple
not
belief.
capitalism. That's
Yeah.
greed. That's just pure greed, plain and simple.
Yeah. And it's like capitalism doesn't have to be bad, obviously. It's the best model, but it's like if only people could just chill and not be so greedy. Like we're giving you all of this. Just don't be greedy about it, man. It's not
Yeah.
um but like you're saying that the people in these fields are afraid, maybe they have a theory and they're like, I think that there's a lot of evidence behind this, but I can't say anything yet because I need all this. And the whole thing is that silence, not saying anything, creates the suspicion, and it create it. This is what created the whole fringe thing. I mean, there are I won't name anybody. There's people that I respect the work that they're doing, um, but they really fuel the like the what are they hiding aspect. And I'm trying to, since I never really hear the other side of it, if I'm not if I'm not representing the academic community properly, please correct me on this, but I do feel that the silence comes from that fear of
Well,
losing your job, losing your credentials.
you
um
can't represent the academic community without being part of the
of
academic
course.
community because you have to conform to the community standards. You can never actually represent them because
No.
you aren't part of that formation, that mass formation.
And to me that's just crazy that the structurally, right, it's not like a few bad actors, it's just the structure is just not built right. The system for how they do their research, how it makes it out to the public, it was never meant for the public. There's no connection, right? It's
And
that
by the way,
yeah.
when Jesus began his teaching, he wasn't telling anybody to tear down the old system. He just had new ideas that he was bringing to people.
No
He
new idea.
wasn't, well, but he wasn't part of the other system. And so that mass formation was threatened by that because guess what? He was doing all kinds of different and interesting things. And that's why they wanted to get rid of him. And so
Exactly.
whenever you oppose the mass formation, that formation will try to crush you. And it's the nature of the formation. There's no individuality within a formation. There's no individuality in a beehive. The bees have their jobs. They do what they're supposed to do. When something comes into the beehive, it gets attacked.
Yeah. But I mean, like I was saying, it's that there's I understand why people have this angle towards them, because this system kills public trust, that public funded research and the public doesn't get access to it. Of course people don't trust you. And then that there's you're not sharing all of this. It takes years to find out anything. Of course people are suspicious and upset about that. So
Well, let me say
I would just
this.
love to see a better system where
Yeah.
that basically allows them to, right? If the
All
system
right.
was built
I'll
in a
give
way
you
to
a
say,
perfect example.
oh, good, good,
Perfect
yeah,
example. Citizen journalism. This is what's so great about the internet, right? People, I mean, when there was a hurricane, a slight hurricane that hit down in Southern California last year. And there was a guy that was driving around in his car live streaming, following, chasing the storm chasers, right? Are you going to really wait for the news, or are you going to watch a storm chaser who is actually live streaming?
that's
So,
it, that's it, yeah,
we all have the capacity, and I wanted to say this about archaeology. It isn't rocket science. You're going to uncover something. You're not going to put something together necessarily. You might take the bits and pieces and try to assemble them, but this does not take a whole lot of freaking intelligence to be an archaeologist. I'm sorry to tell you that if you were interested, just like these guys that go out into the Badlands in Utah and dig up dinosaur bones, they're just people that are interested in dinosaur bones. You
right.
don't
You can
have
get
to
a
be
degree to know,
credentialed.
like, yeah,
You
yeah.
don't. You just don't need to have somebody put their stamp of approval on your forehead like a piece of meat.
But I know, but I got a degree that I know all of the terms for. All right, now I'm just being. See, like I said, I'm not trying to be mean here. Like
You're
that,
funny.
there are there are ethical things that it's important to know, right? You can't just show up with a shovel and start digging. You might break a mastodon bone in half. So like, there's things to learn. But would I be more confident? And again, I'm not putting down this profession, but would I be more confident that I could go to school and actually get a degree in archaeology versus a degree in like
Okay.
nuclear fission? I'm like, there's no
Okay, but
way I'm
wait.
getting that engineering and nuclear science
That's a great
degree.
point.
But I could probably get a degree in archaeology.
I no, but I agree. Great point. Two words:
Yeah.
Home Depot. Now,
Okay.
do you have to be a trained carpenter? You don't. You can
They
fix
can
a
just buy
whole
whatever you
crap
want in
load of
there.
things without ever having any formal training at all. Because you know how you learn? By doing.
Yeah.
And so I agree with you, though. I don't think that people should just willy nilly go out and try to figure out certain things in archaeology. But guess what? Machu Picchu and Göbekli Tepe and all these other places where people show up and they're interested. And well, there's going to be interest. And when there's interest, there's people that are going to go, well, how do you go about doing such a thing? There's plenty of information about how to do it. I mean, there's some great YouTube videos. You can honestly, I just read that um, universities are becoming a thing of the past because there's so much information available now. So you
I
don't
mean, I'm just
necessarily,
saying, yeah.
yeah,
There's like entire college course because it's like, well, I went to college. Okay, so what? You paid like 40 grand for a 10-hour class, like right? It's like 1 hour for 10 weeks. Okay,
yeah.
I can watch 10 hours of that class on YouTube.
There you go.
What's different about how I did it versus how you did it? It's the same class.
And
A lot
then,
of it is putting the time into learning, right? It's like I don't care how you learned it. If you put the time in and you absorbed it and you retained it and you can practice it, I respect you. I respect you for it. I don't care
of
how you
course,
learned
but
it.
it that's right. It shouldn't matter how you learned it. You shouldn't have to have somebody give you the mark of approval. You shouldn't. You shouldn't. If you're interested in it, you should go out and find out as much as you can about it. And
Yeah.
it's just like I say, I mean, I got trained to work in the carpentry skill by people who were already working in the trade, and they were trained by people. See, you get exposure to something, and then after a while, you're building whole houses.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and you find out about the codes, you find out about the everything, every little thing, and see the human mind is so capable. So yeah, there's a monopoly on capacity of doing. They don't want you to even try it. They don't want you to even be interested in it. They want to just leave this to us. We will let you know when we find out.
Yeah.
They
And
want you
like
to be
I mean, and
lazy.
that's fine, right? I mean, like to an extent, but just keep us more in the loop. Like what harm does it do? Like people don't want to show up at the dig. Oh, it's on private land. We I don't just give me like a 60-second little video. Hey, we're working on this. We found some stuff. This is what it might potentially mean. but we still have to do more research, but we're excited because it might mean this. Don't misquote me, but it might mean this. Um,
I
that
don't know. It's
that
a Chinese water torture of information.
and to your
Drip,
and I mean
drip,
part of
drip.
what you're saying, right? Like obviously it's important to be book smart, but a lot of it, e- experience outweighs so much. Like would you want to learn how to swim from somebody who
Okay,
has swam or somebody who read a book on how to swim?
that's it.
You know?
Malcolm Gladwell, New York Times best-selling author, wrote a book called Blink, and it's all about experts in the field of every kind of field who completely rely upon their intuition. They just in the area of art alone. It's somebody who has experience can look at a piece of artwork and know if it's original or fake.
That's wild. Yeah, that's
I
cool.
mean that so intuition, everybody has it, you're born with it, and yet most people never really develop it. It never goes anywhere. You don't even listen to it when it comes to a stoplight. It's like, should I run this stoplight or not? No, your intuition says stop. And your other self says, keep going, it's not going to matter.
I mean, I can spot fake Jordans or a fake Louis purse, but um, I don't know if that's intuition. I mean, maybe
Well,
some of it
no,
is some of it's the
but
little
see,
details.
the nuances of the things that you pick up on. That's kind of intuition.
Yeah.
It's just a sense of things. It's a great book, by the way. I read the whole book twice, and what it does is it reminds you that you have the capacity to know things. That's it. To knowing things, and without knowing things, then you're stuck relying on other people to tell you.
So I guess here's the big question, okay? If I had to wrap up kind of my point here, archaeology is very much so tied into the institutions that bankroll them. That's just how it goes, right? It's the you work for the university or whatever. There's some group, and that is your career. So going against the machine, the controlling powers, is it possible to create a system where archaeologists do not have to
Yeah.
subscribe to that and have these people
I'll tell you how you
controlling
do
it?
it. You want to know
Could
how
they
you
be
do it?
funded like a public broadcasting company that and require, right? You say, here's our requirements. You have to produce a certain amount of public facing content, every for each
I
project.
wouldn't even waste my time with that, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah,
Because you're already an expert at how to get it done with viral um, viral videos and making your case,
that's
and
part of it.
then like GoFundMe's, and see with the ability to reach millions of people through the internet, through Facebook or through TikTok or Instagram or whatever, you can actually make your case to get people to fund it and make them a participant in the funding. Individuals, $5 each. If you get 1,000 people giving $5, that's a beginning. But a lot of people will actually get behind these funding websites, these Gives and Go, and there's a lot of them out there, and they take a little percentage of it. But you can actually create the momentum by making a good case for what you want to do, and then creating incentives, but not dividends for people. If somebody gives something, they get a little tiny sliver of ownership of it. So you don't need big funding sources. You really don't. Small funding. This show, The Y Files. You ever watch The Y
Yeah,
Files?
yeah, yeah.
Guy's got millions of supporters, millions.
And he's totally independent, right?
Yeah, it's a Patreon. He's totally independent.
Exactly, exactly. Maybe okay, so that's what it is. It's just not having that, corporate whatever, just the bigger invested
It
interest
doesn't need to be
that
the
you need.
government.
You,
Doesn't
you
need to
need
be
the money to
corporate.
do it, but you need the freedom to not be controlled how it's
That's
utilized, right?
right. And by the
Like
way, it's how you present what it is that you're doing. Because see, not nobody's just going to go, oh yeah, right, whatever. If you don't make a good case for what you're doing, and what's in it for everybody else, there's a reason. So you got to be really intelligent about it. This guy AJ, who does the Y Files, is brilliant.
Hmm. And
He's,
really well
he was
produced videos too,
it's a
like really high
great show.
quality. Yeah.
It's gotten better and better and better because what he does, he reinvests in his show. But he's got millions and millions of dollars
Yep.
just for doing what he loves to do. That's how it should be, in my opinion.
That no, I mean that's how I feel. That maybe I'm wrong for saying this, but it just feels like archaeology and the those institutions. There's just not. There's either no marketing machine behind it, or not a very good marketing machine. That you have all this money, and there's no media savvy staff behind them to say what you're doing is incredible. Can we get this onto the platforms where people are actually looking
I'll
for this
give
stuff? Like you
you
said,
another
TikTok,
example.
YouTube,
Yeah.
right?
Here's another example. I heard that NASA is going to go away because putting these projects in the hands of private enterprise is so much more efficient.
It has been, yeah. I mean, like NASA did great things earlier, obviously. We got a lot of consumer products even from all of that. But you're right that it's NASA has to beg Congress for money. We have sample what is it? There's like 34 samples on Mars that could answer
Can't
so
get
many
them back.
questions, and they're
Right.
begging Congress for the money to just get it back here so we can look
Yeah,
at it.
I know
And
it.
they're like, well, maybe next maybe when somebody else has my job, they'll vote for it. And they're like, we paid so much money to get it out there, and now we don't want to. There's no money to bring it back.
Yeah.
What? But my last point on the other thing too is let's say that in the future we are from the future after all. But let's say
Yes, we are.
everybody else catches up. If there is a reality where archaeologists have more freedom, that they have this like independent financing to do proper, ethical, credible research that still can be peer reviewed, everything, analyze the data, but let people have a little window into that. And if it was possible, right, because think of all like the backlash we're talking about, that there could be offered even like institutional protection in some way that we say, look, you can say whatever you want, or but you know what I mean that
Well,
the
look at the
big media
backlash.
machine won't be able to attack you and ruin your career, right?
No,
Because
that you
how
can't
easy is
stop.
it to
Listen,
smear
you can't
somebody?
stop the bull from charging.
No, but that it would be unsuccessful, right? Like yeah, like watch,
Okay, let me put it to you
the
this
media
way.
cycle is gonna run all these things to attack you, but it's not gonna work this time. You know?
So, let me make a point
Yeah.
about the media because the media only has the power that people give it by believing in it. Because, and after a while, by the way, the media isn't as powerful as it actually appears to be. What's more powerful, and the reason why Trump doesn't want TikTok to be shut down, is because Trump got a lot of people to follow him through TikTok,
He
right?
hated it
He's
up
smart,
until his
right?
supporters were on there,
But
right? Yeah.
he's smart. We have these alternative media outlets because these are all the social medias. I don't, I watch more on my phone than I do on my TV set. Now, I don't even need a TV set, honestly. My phone has everything I need, honestly. And
I
it
was
comes
gonna say the
directly to
same
me. It's
thing.
delivered every day. If I just subscribe to something, I get more than I can actually consume. But you don't need, the point I was going to make is it's better to ask forgiveness than it is permission. And this is what happens when you get trapped in a corporate mindset or a government mindset is that you want you feel like you have to jump through the hoops to make it legit, but you don't. You don't have to get their permission, right? You just don't. Ask for forgiveness if you do something wrong. Okay, big deal. What are you going to do wrong anyway? You're looking for bones and bits and pieces of things. I mean, what are you going to do that's wrong if you go out looking? People find stuff all the time when they're out prospecting, when they're out excavating, and there's a guy, a high desert drifter or whatever his name was that
Yeah,
passed away.
Andrew, yeah, Desert Drifter.
That guy discovered some pretty interesting things. People that look at Google Earth that go
Did it
out
on his
and
own. Yeah. I had the pleasure of I got to hang out a few times with John Huber, who started Crown Heads Cigars. He's a really cool guy,
yeah,
and his whole thing is CYOP, carve your own path.
I love it.
That the cigar industry is pretty rigid in a lot of ways. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot of like more hip brands now, but he went in, and people probably thought he was crazy with what he was proposing, and now he's super successful. And he's like, I got here because I didn't take the advice. I listened to myself, and that's how I got here. So yeah,
To thine own self be true. That's what Shakespeare said, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't retain any. I like the concept of Shakespeare, but I can't retain any of that
Well,
language. I'm
yeah,
sorry. I wish
classical
I could, man.
literature.
It's hard to read.
Yeah, it's
Um, but isn't that weird, right? That there aren't even really technical or necessarily ethical problems here. It's structural and it's cultural. And that's
and
kind
it's
of a relief.
perception. It's a
Can be fixed.
perception.
Perception.
It's
So
not actual. It's perceptual.
perception.
Nobody can stop you from wanting to be and finding archaeological things. Nobody can stop you. You know, they can stop you from getting into Area 51, but if you go to a place where you start looking around and you find something, it's really a will to do it. It's just you have the freedom. You just have to exercise it.
Yeah. With it, I mean, to some extent, right? Because I was joking, but like, you call somebody, you got to pick me up from jail. They're like, oh my gosh, what did you do? You're like, I used my metal detector in a park. It's like, yep, you can't do that. Like, don't you, not even digging. There's places where they're like, don't you dare know if there's metal under that. Like, you can't even go out and swing in places. That's crazy. Um,
Wow. That's weird.
but
Where you live or just
in
in
North
general?
Carolina, yeah, but I've seen it. The laws vary so. It's not just like a state level. It varies. So you really have to know the laws. Like some places, oh yeah, you're fine. Go out and do whatever. Other places, it is strict. But even like beaches, certain one strip of beach, certain sections are fine, but once you hit a certain area, you can't use a metal
The
detector on that
control
part of the
freaks
beach.
are going to control. That's what
Yeah,
they
yeah.
do.
But it's only illegal if you get caught, right? So
Like
that's
fishing
my
without a
endorsement to
license.
all of the kids out there. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun as always, David. I always enjoy talking with you. I like that I sometimes come into these with certain things like I mentioned the AI prompt thing. And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to mention this because I thought this was a really cool argument." And I love that you had a good counter argument to that. And now it's like it isn't that simple. Now you have to think bigger. Because I'm sure there's times where I'm trying to be concise here, but I don't like to. It's hard to get bigger concepts out in a concise way without missing something there. That some of these things do require a bigger conversation. There is no snappy tagline, and I like that we get into this stuff, and I hope it helps other people get on the same page as us here.
Yeah, absolutely. Just people should check out my website. It's escapeyourmindsprison.com. If you want to try meditation, this is a non-denominational, it's not Eastern, it's not Western. It's a meditation developed over 60 years. It's used by the military. Walter Reed Army Hospital uses it for patients that have PTSD. It's one of the gentlest experiences you'll have, and it will return you to yourself at escapeyourmindsprison.com.
And like you said, like the Steve Jobs example, right? That it's just like the idea came to him. I mean, I think it was Steve Jobs. It might have been somebody from Microsoft that they were meditating and the lines of code, just they could see it in their head and they were like, I need to get to a
Yep,
computer.
yep.
Um, from times where I've meditated, just I didn't go in with a goal, and I guess that's the
You
thing. You don't.
can't.
I've stumbled upon some of my greatest ideas, awakenings, whatever you want to say,
Yeah.
and it was a surprise. I didn't go into it expecting that to be the outcome, but you can't find those things without just listening.
So the operating idea is don't guide the meditation, let the meditation guide you.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah.
In David Master's new book, Flowing Through Time, Presence, Purpose and the Ultimate Journey into the Eternal Now, David explains, while clocks measure time in exact increments, human beings live time differently. We experience it emotionally, spiritually, we experience it relationally, and neurally. But when we are inspired, focused, or immersed in something greater than ourselves, time flies. disappears, or becomes irrelevant altogether. This mysterious shift is what positive psychology refers to as the flow state, a profound mental, emotional, and even spiritual condition where one becomes absorbed in the present moment. But flow is not just about performance or productivity. It is about presence, and through presence, we enter a different relationship with time itself.
Are you ready to move freely through your life? Read Flowing Through Time, Presence, Purpose and the Ultimate Journey into the Eternal Now. Go to www.escapeyourmindsprison.com.